for just me in attendance, and the very few hundred, even less, watching this video at home. Let's get ready to suck it! As I review you, the first game I'm reviewing for a Nintendo console, the Japanese exclusive Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 for the Nintendo 64. And if there were a series of games I enjoyed most for the Nintendo 64, they were most certainly the wrestling games developed by Aki and published by THQ in the US. Most notably, they were released in this order: WCW vs. NW World Tour, WCW NW Revenge, and then when Aki lost the WCW license, remember that those days when DX invaded WCW? So after that, they got the WWF license, which has now been known as WWE since 2002. They released WWF WrestleMania 2000, and then WWF No Mercy. And each game was an improvement over the last, which kept expanding. And for those of you that may not know, despite me being 41 right now, I have been a wrestling fan ever since I was 4, and that love extended to my love for quality wrestling games such as these N64 ones. And thanks to living on the West Coast during the time of the Monday Night Wars, I didn't have to pick a side. So from 6 to 9 p.m., I could watch Nitro, and then from 9 to 11, I could then watch Raw. So I managed to get the best of both worlds. And later on, I would learn more about the world of Japanese professional wrestling and managed to find some videos of both the hardcore side and the more technical side to Japanese wrestling. And of course, American wrestling, they did have Japanese wrestlers such as Yuji Nagata, Kaz Hayashi, Taka Michinoku, Dick Togo, Sho Funaki, Tajiri, and Bull Nakano, who all brought something distinct with their sense of rawness and technique. Then, when I saw pure Japanese wrestling through import VHS tapes, it was just something entirely mind-blowing. While some aspects did emphasize the entertainment part of wrestling, there were other promotions, such as, UWF and New Japan, that were more focused on the combative components that made it feel more realistic. At some points, I managed to find some footage of Hulk Hogan wrestling in Japan, who may rest in peace, and all the haters can suck it. He showed that he was legitimately capable of doing actually wrestling holds, and it's just a different side of Hulk Hogan you never saw before. But eventually, I also found interest in not just actual Japanese wrestling, but Japanese wrestling games. And I would like to start my review with Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, which some consider to be the best N64 wrestling game, as endorsed by AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 largely features wrestlers from All Japan Pro Wrestling, which was founded in 1976 by Giant Baba. In fact, he's actually a playable character in this game, along with other All Japan legends such as Mitsuhara Misawa, Stan Hansen, and Vader. Like in previous wrestling games, such as the first WCW game for the N64, it does have some non-real-life wrestlers, but are based on actual wrestlers. For example, Michi Takamoku is based on Taka Michinoku. Ensen Inoshita is based on MMA legend Ensen Inoue. The Jackal is based on Tiger Mask, Ninja Tasuke is based on the Great Sasuke, and Andy the Giant is based on Andre the Giant. If you've played any of the old WCW or WWF games back on the N64, you more or less can get into Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 with little to no learning curve regardless of the language barrier. If you haven't played any of these WCW or WWF games, despite the controversial nature of the N64's controller's design and layout, Aki managed to find a way to make the controller perfect for this series of games. And what does make this game distinguishing is that it was the first to introduce running grapples, which would later be implemented in WWF No Mercy. Like with the other N64 wrestling games by Aki, each wrestler will have a spirit meter, and it relates more to wrestling psychology. The stronger you mount your offense, the higher it will go until it maxes out, which will allow you to use your respective special moves. But the more damage you take, the lower your spirit meter will go, which will make you succumb to pinfalls or submissions. If you've played WrestleMania 2000, you've more or less played this game to a certain degree, but with some different features, and of course, an appropriate roster for those that are in Japanese promotions. The music is pretty much the same, and so is the menu layout. You've got your career mode, which is modeled off the Road to WrestleMania as featured in that game, but you'll be participating in more tournaments to win trophies, which is the case in Japanese wrestling promotions. Removed from this game in comparison to WrestleMania 2000 are cage matches, which aren't really a thing in most Japanese wrestling matches, but still, the game does retain a Royal Rumble feature. In addition, the game does feature something of an MMA mode. You have the option to either play under pro wrestling rules or set it to MMA rules where you can have a set of rounds by how many minutes you like. So instead of, let's say, winning by pinfall or submission, you can win by knockout or submission instead, but you do have the option to win by knockout under pro wrestling rules as well. It's not pure MMA like the UFC games, but for its time, it was something you had to make do with along with the MMA features in Fire Pro Wrestling. Like WrestleMania 2000, it also has a Create a Wrestler mode, and many of the moves featured in that game are also present in Virtual Pro Wrestling for you to enjoy. For the taunts, you can even retain the second crotch chop like D-Generation X used to do, and while it's not as deep as Fire Pro Wrestling's Create a Wrestler mode, this still has a lot to offer and enjoy. So, would I call Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 the best wrestling game ever on the N64 or anything else? While I do love this game a lot, but with some of my inclinations towards some aspects of American wrestling, especially with cage matches and ladder matches not being present in this game, I would call this a steady second behind WWF No Mercy. As for the best Japanese wrestling game of all time, I would give that honor to the Fire Pro Wrestling series, which I will review at a much later time. And it's probably not just like the best ever in the Japanese wrestling gaming series, but wrestling of all time, whether it's American, Japanese, or European, or Mexican. But still, for N64 wrestling enthusiasts, Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 is still a must-have.